Hello, welcome to the Week 15 matchup live stream here at fantasypoints.com. Christmas Day edition. Mr. Caplan is here. Mr. Cosell is here. Guys, happy holidays, happy new year, all that good stuff. We ready
John,
to go?
we're like Marv. Adam and I are like Marv Levy today. There's no place we'd rather be than right here, right now.
Yeah,
I'll tell
as
you
far
what,
as you know.
it really is.
As far as you know.
It really is. You know, and look, it's we're all in the pandemic, and I'm sick of Zoom, but it is pretty convenient. I mean, I got my family downstairs. You know, I have so many damn kids. It's like a large gathering here. It's like a party. But I just step aside for 2 hours, do this, impart some wisdom from you guys, and watch a little football tonight. So. Not bad.
Then Capital will be doing most of the talking if you want some wisdom.
Yes, thank you.
Well, let's start with obviously the game that kicks off in about 2 hours as the Vikings are in New Orleans to take on the Saints. Greg, I'll start with you. I like Kirk Cousins in this game. You look back at his history, by the way, it's outstanding. He's got 4 career games and he's over 300 in 3 of the 4. And obviously, we know he played well in the playoffs last year. Biggest throw of his career, the 43-yarder to Adam Thielen. Do you think it's a function of simply they play a lot of man-to-man, and Kirky's typically better against man-to-man?
Well, they do play a lot of man-to-man. I guess for Mr. Caplan, my question is Marcus Williams?
Is out.
He's out.
Yes.
Because I was actually just watching that side of the ball. Since I sent you my notes, John, I was watching the Chiefs. So
yeah, he's out with an ankle injury. Yep.
Selected plays, and I saw the injury. So that certainly changes their defense. Changes personnel because DJ Swearinger will now play, and they will probably play with PJ Williams as their post safety. He's a pretty talented guy, but it's obviously different. And Marcus Williams is a good post safety. But they do play a lot of man. They played a lot of man against the Chiefs, and they were pretty successful, believe it or not.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
they play the most in the league per Sports Info Solutions.
Yeah, and they play a lot of 2-man coverage. So I would not be surprised to see them continue to do that.
Now, the real question is, I actually think it's a little bit of a moot point because Janoris Jenkins has been really good. Is who is on whom? Last year in the playoffs, they opted to put the honey badger, the jackrabbit, we can't keep track of these nicknames, Jenkins on Diggs, and Thielen crushed Lattimore. Greg, I got to think they do something similar. If they're going to match up, put Jenkins on Jefferson and Lattimore on Thielen. Any thoughts?
Lattimore is one of those guys when he gets motivated, and again, I'm not in his headspace, so I don't know how he is every week, but when he gets motivated, he plays well. He played Hill this week, quite a few snaps this past week, and did a really good job. So he's obviously got a high level skill set. So when he's ready to play, we know what he's done against Mike Evans over the last couple of years. This is pure guess, so I don't want people to think, hey, I have inside information or I know. I think Lattimore is going to match up in this game to Jefferson. Just my personal opinion.
I could be, you could be right. I could be totally wrong. There's no doubt.
What I'd like to think is a somewhat educated guess, but it's still a guess.
But who's a better matchup though? Who can run with Jefferson? Would that be Jenkins potentially? Is he a little bit faster?
But Lattimore is longer. So that's just my sense.
Yeah. Bottom line though, Adam, I like the Viking passing game here. I don't think it's going to be a big day at the office for Cook. We know he gets the ball every damn snap almost. 28 touches a game. The Saints are good against the run. You take away that Miles Sanders run for 82 yards, they're really good. So it just feels like one of those days where they're not going to be able to go off in the running game, and it's going to have to be a Kirky game.
I could see that by Trey Hendrickson, who's had a breakout season at defensive end. He's got a neck injury. He may be held out. We'll see.
I can't believe that dude. What's he got? 11 sacks?
Yeah, that's a very interesting injury, Adam, because he was dominant last week.
Oh, okay.
Fisher.
Yeah.
Dominant against Eric.
Yeah, he's been an amazing story, number 91.
And the Vikings do have a crappy O-line for pass pro. Terrible.
Yeah, then hopefully what's his name won't get thrown out of the game. That was crazy.
Cam Jordan, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. It's couple notes here. So Marquez Callaway is going to play. He was taken off IR. You know that Traquan Smith went on IR. Vikings defense only has 4 starters in the lineup versus last year's wild card game. That kind of tells you where the Viking defense is right now.
Yeah. If I'm looking to reach one of these receivers outside of Emmanuel Sanders, I'm going Callaway. I mean, it's a guess, but Juwan Johnson and little Jordan Humphrey, didn't do anything till last week. Callaway does have an 8-catch game on his resume this year. Greg, Emmanuel Sanders, the Vikings, I'm sure they probably mix and match it, right? Sometimes they play sides, sometimes they're not.
No. They don't do that.
They don't do that at all. They just play sides.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, then
Dantzler and Gladney are the starters, and when they go to nickel, Gladney goes inside and Chris Jones plays outside. But they do not flip sides; they stay.
Okay. Well, that's good because Dantzler has been ridiculous. He's one of the top graded corners for what it's worth on Pro Football Focus. So I guess you can move Emmanuel Sanders around just a little bit. I feel like Gladney has been a weak link when he is inside. Greg, I don't know if you've noticed that.
I haven't noticed it, so I can't really speak to it. But he's certainly got very good traits. Obviously, he's a rookie, so is Dantzler. And Chris Jones is a long, athletic kid who has been with other teams, but he's actually got some ability. But obviously, they're not. They're young and they're theoretically beatable. But we know the Saints are not putting out great receivers.
Yeah, I mean the Vikings, believe it or not, on the season now are one of the better teams outside against out wide wideouts, and they've been one of the 5 worst in the slot. So I guess
right.
Manny can go in the slot at times. Callaway does a little bit.
And those stats I always find interesting. And again, they're just numbers, they're results. Yeah. But if a team plays a lot of zone, the Vikings play a lot of zone. That doesn't mean that Gladney is the reason that's the case.
Right. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So overall, it's probably a medium matchup, maybe slightly above average for Manny Sanders. And then, Jared Cook, Greg, they just don't make it a point to get him the ball. Like he just doesn't.
Well, we'll see now that Breeze is back and has a game under his belt. And Breeze was obviously sort of working his way back last week. It's a very difficult defense to play against. This is not as difficult a defense to play against tactically.
Yeah. And then real quick on Breeze, we've seen this before with Breeze and even with Brady, guy has a layoff for whatever reason and he's a little rusty, right? I mean, they're writing his obituary in the NFL from last week, but he did still get 3 touchdowns. So I feel like he'll be a little bit better this week.
He'll be better. And people have been writing his obituary for about 3 years now. So,
obviously Kamara, Vikings will run on considerably last week. I don't know what happened last week. That was pretty bad performance against the Bears.
I mean, you look at the size that they've lost at D tackle compared to last year. I mean, you lose a guy like Linval Joseph, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, when you lose, he might be the biggest defensive tackle in the National Football League. You're just not going to be the same front, and all the talent they've lost up front.
Not only that, they signed Pierce to replace him, and he opted out.
Correct. Right. Exactly. So it's been a problem. You know what Denzel Mims told me before the draft, that Jeff Gladney was the best corner he went up against because he's so competitive.
They had a great matchup last year on tape.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what he's referring to.
That was one of the most fun matchups to watch last year on tape.
That's interesting because he brought up how difficult he was. I know Mims is bigger physically, but he said that
Gladney's super competitive.
Right. He said that's what he talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Gladney is going to be.
Gladney's going to be a good player.
Too. Yeah, so I mean, Dantzler, Mike Hughes, Gladney. It looks like Mike Zimmer's probably going to do it again with a pretty good, group of corners, but that'll be really more about next year. I think we've covered everything in this game. That we can move it on to Saturday afternoon, 1:00, Bucks, Lions. I don't know what.
And I think we're coaching. I think that Adam, did they call you? I think we're coaching for the Lions this week.
It's funny. Yeah. I know somebody in the front office. I asked him if he was going to be coaching. He goes, "No, I haven't coached before, so I'm not going to do that."
Their head coaches out, their coordinators. I mean, defensively, they literally have no coaches.
Yeah, well, the guy who's going to call the game is their analyst. He's never coached before.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So there's going to be a lot of base defenses in this game, John. You won't see a whole lot of of tactical stuff. They're going to line up and play.
Yeah. Here's the question then. How much man will they play?
Well, they're either going to play man or they're going to play basic zone stuff. I mean, look, everybody can line up and play cover 3 or cover 4, but they're not going to be doing anything different, or there's not going to be a lot of pre-snap calls. They're just going to line up and play.
I mean, the Lions, again, it's just data, but it's something to hang your hat on. per Sports Info Solutions play it zone third or man the third most percentage, highest percentage in the league. So,
Well, they played a lot of man, no question.
yeah. Would this offensive coaching situation worry you, Adam, about, Stafford? Because I kind of like Stafford for fantasy in this game because of Buck D. I don't know what the hell's going on. But
yeah, I don't think Robert Prince is going to call the plays, is called plays before he's the receivers coach. So yeah, I mean, I would not feel as good. But what's going to happen though, John, is they're going to get behind very, very big and probably very, very early.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a volume throw game. That's just the way it is. That's the game flow.
And keep one thing in mind. Stafford's a veteran. Stafford could probably call a lot of the plays.
Oh, at the line. Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Right. Anyway,
This game's going to be in Stafford's hands.
Yeah, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but once they fired Mr. Pencil Ear, they were more aggressive with throwing the ball down the field.
Yeah, it's going to be a throw ball game. I'm positive of it. Really positive of it.
And that's what Stafford, that's what he wants to do, right, Greg? Chuck it.
Yeah. Well, we have this conversation every week, and I know it's a fantasy, we're talking about fantasy, where Stafford's pretty good anyway, but this guy played last week with an injury, and he made some throws.
Yeah.
He made a no-look touchdown throw.
It
was absurd.
That was unbelievable.
Talking about it for the next 6 years.
Yeah, exactly.
But because it's Stafford, no one even said a word about it.
I know. That was crazy. Maybe part of it is we're kind of used to him playing hurt, but man, the guy is pretty tough. There's no doubt. And then Adam, they're down a corner likely, right? Carlton Davis.
Yeah, he's not expected to play. Right. Arians made it pretty. He said if they had a couple more days, he probably could go. Yeah. I don't know. Greg, what has happened to the Tampa Bay defense? Really, the second half of the season, they've really regressed.
Really bad.
Yeah, and boy, that's a hard question to answer. I've watched them some, not every single week.
Okay.
But they're not. John, you probably have the numbers. They're not very good against the pass.
Yeah, no, their production they've given up.
For weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
I know.
Now, last 4 weeks, quarterbacks completing 72% of their passes for 354 a game.
Yeah, they're just not good against the pass. And like I said, I haven't studied them in detail, but boy, they struggle.
It's a little bit of a volume thing too, Adam. Quarterbacks in the last 4 weeks are completing 33 passes a game against them.
That's
33 on 46 attempts.
Well, that's all. You're right. That makes it a volume thing. But the point is, they're not stopping them.
Exactly. No, they're still not stopping them. They're hardly a shutdown D. The pass rush hasn't been very prevalent.
No.
So you got to go with Hawkinson. I do like Stafford. Obviously, Marvin Jones. I don't think I'd go anywhere else in terms of the receivers. They're really good against the run. Still, Tampa.
Not going with Quintez Cephas.
Nah, I'm not exactly.
Next year for him.
I just like saying that.
Right.
I know. Danny Amendola in the mix if you're really, really desperate, but that would be a low end guy. But it is a tough matchup for DeAndre Swift, so he'll have to do it in the passing game.
Yep.
But I was convinced he was going to catch 45 balls last week. He did, just didn't get the yardage that I thought. And then Greg, obviously, the matchup is great for Brady on the other side of things here.
You would think. I mean, as Adam said, you would certainly think so. Boy, Brady made some throws in the second half last week that were big time throws.
The throw to Mike Evans that he almost scored on was
ridiculous. Oh my God, that was a big time throw.
Absolutely absurd. I was glad because I backed freaking Leonard Fournette on national TV, and luckily he scored on the next play or two because he didn't do crap. But we got to go at Leonard. Adam, you're on the same page.
Oh yeah, I said that on our show, and also in this game. Jamie Collins might not play. In fact, he didn't practice this week with a neck injury. He hasn't been cleared yet.
Jamie Collins.
Yeah, Jamie Collins. Yeah, Jamie Collins.
Yeah.
Jaron Kearse is hurt with a hip injury. He's a game day decision. So
they're down in the secondary too. Yeah,
they're terrible at corner. Awful. Awful.
Dell Roberts. Yeah.
There's really no way that Brady doesn't throw 3 touchdowns at least in this game.
Yeah. Evans. I mean, I would prioritize the receivers as Evans, Godwin, and Brown. Certainly Gronk too. Obviously, he was almost a Lion. It's almost a revenge game for Gronk.
Yeah, if he would have just said yes, he would be.
It's the greatest move of all time. Gronk is one of my favorite players of all time from that move. By the way, oh, you were traded to the Lions. Oh, sorry, I retired. Sorry, and then it's the greatest.
He said no is what. Yeah, he's basically.
Yeah, no. He said I retired. He told the story. It was the greatest thing of all time. I mean, it's the funniest thing I've seen in 10 years was Gronk recounting that story. But
Oh yeah,
anyway.
by the way, Galladay, as I told you, John, had a setback in his rehab. That's why they didn't put him. He was going to come back probably 3 weeks ago, but he had a setback. So
yeah,
unfortunate.
Just brutal, just brutal. So Leonard, we're going with him, and it's kind of a start him if you got him game. The Niners and the Cardinals, Greg, and you saw Kyler Murray last week. I had a really good feeling about it. I think everybody in the fantasy biz did. We were all right, but your film study kind of reveals like the same player, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, he's going to have games like that, and then he's going to have games where he throws for 150. You just don't know when that's going to happen. That's the problem for fantasy. But I think based on film study, he's essentially the same player he was a year ago. He's had more games this year where he's run the ball really well and put up great fantasy numbers there, John, which is obviously what you're concerned about. But I mean, if you're just talking about the development of a quarterback, to me, without being there, without knowing what they ask him to do, how he's coached, I think the tape tells you that he's very much the same player.
I watched the game. I loved Aqib Talib's commentary. Honestly, he was talking very early in the game because there was like a designed run early, and he was like, "Oh, he must be feeling better. He must be more confident in that shoulder injury and his running ability." And that did play out. And in this matchup, and by the way, Murray is at 9.2 YPA over the last 2 games. He ran for 91 with a touchdown in this matchup earlier. Greg, where is this Niner D at? They're just kind of there, right?
You got a lot of guys hurt. A lot of guys hurt.
Yeah.
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 They're down, John.
So
they're down. Verrett will play this week. He got sick right before the game last week. Sherman's out. They're both starting safeties are out. Ward has a concussion. He's not playing.
And he's so good. He's one of those guys that's so good.
It's killer. Murray should have a huge game as well if they protect. Obviously.
What is Sherman's injury?
Sherman's the same calf injury which he hurt in week 1.
So you're going to see Verrett and Mosley on the outside.
Yeah, Mosley should play.
Actually, Witherspoon had a very good game last week, so it's possible he could play on the outside opposite Verrett.
Yes, and Travarius Moore will play safety.
Well, he's been playing safety.
Yeah.
So their safeties will be Moore and Harris, who's basically a glorified linebacker.
So Verrett is out?
No, he's back.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Okay. All right. Actually,
they normally when Verrett and Mosley were playing when Sherman was out, just so you know, John, assuming they do the same thing, Mosley played the boundary corner and Verrett played the field corner. There were no matchups involved.
I kind of think Mosley's beatable. I mean, you said he played well last week, but he has been beaten in the recent past, right?
Mosley last week did not play outside.
Oh,
because Sherman played last week. So Sherman and Witherspoon played outside.
I'm not real worried, especially with Sherman out, about any of the matchups here for D-Hop. But Greg, you did notice that Kyler missed Christian Kirk for a touchdown last week?
Oh, yeah, that was he did. He did. It was the interception. I mean, he had Kirk wide open within the timing of the throw, and only Kyler Murray can tell you why he didn't throw it. It was an easy touchdown. Should have been. I mean, it would have been pitch and catch if he threw it on time within the structure of the play.
Yeah, not easy to trust Kirk though. He has not done really anything in a long time. He hasn't hit.
That was the play, John. He was wide open. That was the play call.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah, but in the fantasy world, we'd like to lean a little bit more on volume and not rely on 1 or 2 plays. You know, if he hits it, great.
Well, they're going to throw. Look, Hopkins is the guy they're going to throw it to. I mean, you saw last week against the Eagles when the game got tight down. You know, the play or two before he hit him for a touchdown, he threw it to him for the 40-yarder. I mean, they go to Hopkins when they want to throw the ball.
Yeah,
Isabella, for what it's worth, has not been a factor lately. So Larry's back.
No, he didn't address. Yeah, he didn't address.
Larry's a little banged up too, though, right?
Couple injuries of note for Arizona. So Drake Kirkpatrick did not practice this week. Gardeck the kiddo had two sacks is out. He probably won't even play week 17. He's got a knee injury. And then let me see, was there anything else? Oh,
Dan Arnold.
Yeah, Dan Arnold was added late with a back injury. We'll see. And then obviously you know that CJ Beathard is starting a quarterback.
Yep.
At least he's got an arm. At least he's got a better arm than the other kid.
Hassan Reddick out of Haddon Heights High School.
Backed up by Josh Rosen.
Yeah, wow. I know. And Kyle said that he said he won't play under any circumstance unless Beathard gets hurt. He's not going
Man,
to
Greg,
pull him. He's just going to let him play.
Well, Beathard though takes shots. He stands in there.
He's got an
so
arm, man. Yeah. Okay.
We'll
Good,
see what
yeah.
happens. No, I
Yeah.
mean he takes shots.
Yeah.
He gets hit a lot because he stands and delivers.
Good.
I almost feel like, Greg, if Josh Rosen, let's say the Niners part ways with Jimmy G, and Kyle Shanahan tells Josh Rosen, "Hey, you're my guy."
Well, he won't
We're
tell
gonna-
him you're
we're
my
gonna
That
guy.
ain't going to happen. There's
Yeah.
zero chance
Right.
it happens.
I'm trying to get to a point though. And
Good.
if Josh Rosen gets an opportunity for the Niners, gets a real opportunity, and if he folds like a cheap tent, I mean, he might as well retire.
No.
Because if
I mean, theoretically, this is a really good opportunity for
I
Josh
agree.
Rosen. I'm not
Yep.
saying he's the starting
Yeah.
quarterback next year, but
Yeah.
this is the
Right,
kind of
right.
system that fits Josh Rosen.
Mm-hmm.
that was my point.
Yeah.
If he gets a chance and flops here, then give it up.
Then he'll be out of the league.
Because
and he
that's
won't be
I
back
love.
in.
I'll tell you what. I love to see him as the backup. They groomed him to be the backup in
Yeah,
21, and see how.
absolutely.
Well, it
Yeah.
all depends who their starter is, I guess.
Yep.
I think it's the neck up at that kid because I did not like him at all. But Greg, I certainly took note of your affinity for him, and then I did watch
Well,
him.
I've been
like, yeah,
around
he's-
him. I mean, again, I don't
good.
know him.
I mean, he could be very good. He really could. I feel
think
that way.
he's
But
the kind of quarterback that fits a Kyle Shanahan system.
yeah. Anyway, back to the game.
Anyway,
here
back
with,
to let's
with CJ Beat Hard. He does take a
You
beating.
love
This
that.
kid.
You love that.
I mean, the dude, it takes a beating, but he keeps
He's a
on
tough
coming at
kid.
you here. Yep. Hey, once again, our guy Jeff Wilson, Greg, once again on film last week. How did he look?
love Jeff Wilson. He was one of my sleepers coming out of college. I kind of liked him. And I actually took a look at him because he's a Lee Steinberg guy, and Lee Steinberg asked me to take a look at him, and I did, and I liked him coming out of college. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that next year he's going to be a 20 carry a back game, but he runs hard, he runs tough, he's got some explosive traits. He's an interesting back, particularly on the team on which he's on. Certainly, as you go ahead, John, and look toward dynasty stuff for next year. I mean, he fits that
Yeah.
team.
Yep. Look at Greg with the
dynasty
Jerry
call.
Maguire with the Jerry Maguire name drop as well.
Yeah. But,
real
by the
Jerry
way,
Maguire.
opposite Ayuk, it's Richie James and Born Again.
Yep, born again.
You like that?
I like Born to Be Alive, but the kids don't know that reference.
Patrick Hernandez.
Yeah, one of the worst songs ever recorded. George Kittle, I have
He's
him at
playing.
7.
He's
I
playing.
have him at 7, Adam.
Yep.
Your thoughts?
Yeah,
Limited
Kyle said he's not going to
snaps?
play him his normal amount of snaps, but I mean, maybe it's 30 snaps. I still think he'll be impactful. They're down they're down Samuel. Yeah, I mean, I think he could do well.
He's had good
I have
games
him at
against
7.
Arizona.
Yeah. And by the way, the last time he returned from an injury was that Eagles game. And what did he catch that week? 14 balls.
15 for 15.
Yeah.
I think he was supposed to be somewhat limited that week. I'm not sure, but in a career.
Well, Kyle said he's fine. I mean, Kyle said he's pretty healthy. I mean, he's been good for a while, and he's practiced for 2 weeks, so he's ready to go.
So I have him over Fant, Tanyan, Gronk. Is that a little bit much? I mean, I think that's about right. I've got him at tight end 7, below Goddard, Logan Thomas, Hawkinson, Waller, Andrews, and Kelsey. That sound about right to you? Tight end 7, Adam?
I think definitely top 10. Yeah.
Sure. Tough call. This is what drives me nuts about for DFS too, because my projection is kind of a median thing. Like he's freaking Kittle. He could catch.
I mean, I might have Fant over him just because I like the matchup, but that would be about it.
Right. Okay, yeah, it's splitting hairs there. All right, Miami and Las Vegas. How about Derek Carr being removed from the injury report? I thought he was going to be out.
He's on it. No, I know he just doesn't have it. He doesn't have a designation. Yes, he's probable. Okay. He'll start. He's ready to go.
I don't trust it. I do not.
Well, I mean,
trust
he could get sure. I don't know how long he's going to last.
Yeah, and I don't really love the matchup. I mean, is there anything positive about this matchup, Greg, for the Raider offense against Miami? It's not easy.
No, they're a tough defense to play against because they have good players in the secondary, and they're pretty tactical in a lot of the things they do. So it's not a great matchup. No.
Right. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. And Aguilar, if you need him, obviously you're rolling with Waller. The secondary options here again. I'm just not. I don't have a lot of confidence.
That's a good matchup though, Waller, because Eric Rowe is their tight end matchup, he's a pretty good player against a tight end because he's got good size. He's got some corner traits. So when they play man, he's the tight end matchup, and I think that's a pretty good matchup.
I've had a little bit of a blind spot for Waller this year. There have been a couple of moments where he kind of vanishes and he goes off, and I don't know. There's a couple of times I've underrated Waller. It should probably be a top 5 guy every single week, which he's kind of usually there, but there have been a couple of weeks where I kind of
What was the
him.
Patriot game where he was quiet? Was that the one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, that was definitely one. But there
Yes.
were
Yeah.
a number of low yardage games for Waller.
And it's funny you say that because they didn't double team him at all in that game, Adam.
I remember that.
I went
Yeah.
through that tape and they didn't double team him at all, the Patriots.
Weird.
And if you would have been a box score analyst, you would have said, "Oh, they sold out to stop him completely."
Sure,
you know,
right.
if you looked at
But
the
wasn't
numbers.
it funny though when Mariota came in? He started. I mean, he went right to Waller.
Yeah.
Right to Waller.
And the
Here's
Waller
a little
touchdown
run.
came against that Waller touchdown came against a corner, Mike Davis.
Here's a little run for Waller midseason, kind of 48, 50, 27, 22, 37 yards. That wasn't great.
Yeah.
That wasn't great.
But the last couple of weeks, he's been good.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's got 17, 10, and 12 targets the last 3 games.
Yeah.
And 29 catches.
Yep.
For like 425 in 3 games.
The last number of weeks, he's been really good.
So CJ Ham is out for the Vikings. Both of their
He's out.
Yeah, CJ Ham, their fullback, is out. I don't know how much that means, Greg.
It means a lot. He plays a lot of snaps.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we knew about Madison. Todd Davis, who was their backup middle linebackers, out. So they're down now 2 middle linebackers.
So who's going to play linebacker?
It's a great question.
Well, the question is, will they, unless they decide to
Eric
play.
Wilson could play it, right?
Well, Eric Wilson's been starting.
No, could he play in the middle, though? Could they move him and move someone else out?
Well, in their base, Travis Dye, the rookie from Oregon's been playing the Mike.
Troy Dye,
excuse me.
He's out. He's out.
Travis is his brother who's still at Oregon.
Okay, okay. But Troy Dye, who was starting, is out. Todd Davis is out, and obviously Kendricks is out. Oh boy.
So Troy Dye is out as well?
Yep.
I'd have to look, to be honest with you, and I'm going to look while we're talking. We can move on. But Wilson's pretty much started all year.
Yeah, so they're running out of linebackers, John. This is great for the Saint defense.
Saint offense.
Saint offense, yeah.
I mean, who benefits the most? I mean, obviously Kamara with Kendricks out, and certainly maybe Jared Cook has a little bit better of an opportunity.
And Jalen Holmes, who was starting at Deanna's out. So
I like that kid.
They got problems, man. Madison's
I'm sure.
out with his,
Greg, I'm sure the linebackers will be involved in covering even a guy like Manny Sanders at times. I mean.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking right now. Oh, they have Ryan Connolly, who was with the Giants.
Yep. I remember
who actually played well for the Giants the last year until he tore up his knee.
Yep.
So it'll be Wilson, Connolly. Kendricks is definitely out, Adam?
He's out. Yeah.
He's out.
This is 4th miss. Yeah.
Hardy Nickerson Jr.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so old. I remember his dad for fantasy, John. He was one of the best fantasy linebackers.
He's gotten snaps this year, so it'll be those 3 if they're in base.
Hardy Sr. was amazing when he was with the Bucs for tackles.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let me update a little Jared. Let me give Jared Cook a couple extra yards. Give Kamara a couple of extra yards with all these issues.
Yep.
This is the behind the scenes look at fantasypoints.com. All the projections are in a Google Doc. And I just sit here and update.
And they're being updated as we speak.
I love that.
This is live TV.
As we speak.
As we speak.
I'm going to hit update right here. And if you go to fantasypoints.com for the projections, you'll see they'll be updated Friday, December 25th at probably 3:04 local or Eastern, whatever. But okay, so we got that out of the way. Should be a pretty good day in New Orleans offensively here with all the defensive problems that we have here, at least for the Minnesota Vikings. The running back situation, back to the Dolphin Raider game, Adam, for Miami. Are we feeling pretty good that Myles Gaskin will, be the main guy? They have kind of used one guy.
I mean, he only missed 2 games, but
they've gotten good play from other guys.
Ahmed, yeah.
I don't know what,
done a good job, right? So I could see them. I mean, I could see a split, but Gaskin was clearly the guy before.
And Breida had some runs last week.
Yep.
Yeah.
I watched that tape.
Breida's so annoying.
I would still give Gaskin 12 to 13 carries.
That's about what I have him. That's about what I have him for. I can check right now, actually, just to run it up the flagpole. I have Gaskin. Actually, I have him with 15 carries and 2 grabs. Does that sound? That sounds about fair, right? 17 touches. It's a lot, but they've been.
Assuming they make him the primary back.
But I think, Greg, that's what I have to lean on because they've
Right.
done that kind of this year with their backs. When they've had a good one viable, they've like Saven Ahmed was the guy last week, right?
Yeah, he was.
So that's kind of.
They ran the ball extremely well against the Patriots, by the way. The interior of their O-line dominated.
I mean, yeah, they're starting to get some play, the O-line, Greg, that they're actually, I thought it was going to be a big problem, but they're actually pretty good.
Dominated. They moved people.
Wow. Well, that's that might also be a little bit of an indictment on the Patriots because I don't know what they're doing, against the run.
Well, they obviously did not do their job.
Yeah. Adam, what about these freaking injured guys? All of them, Gesicki, Parker, and Grant.
They're all got a shot. They all got a shot because they all worked each day, so they all got a shot. The only one
here we are.
The only thing with Gesicki is he's got to get cleared for contact on that shoulder. That's
right. So they're all game time decisions, basically,
yeah,
right?
They're game day, right? The Gesicki's one is a little bit harder because he's got to get cleared for contact.
I mean, I don't know what to do with Parker. I mean, Parker hasn't really exactly done well with Tua. And
which you and I talked about in the beginning. I thought that might happen.
Yeah.
And he's got it's another hamstring injury for him. Can't escape.
Lynn Bowden would be the top
become
option.
Their kind of multi-dimensional piece the way they use him now.
Yeah, what do you think of him, Greg?
What do you see? Yeah, what do you see from Lynn Bowden?
Well, they move him all around. He's in motion a lot. He's their movement receiver. He lines up in the backfield at times. I don't think he's a volume guy, John, but but he's an interesting piece in their offense.
He's their slot guy if they
move him around. He's
right. Yeah. Well, he's got 17 grabs and 20 targets in the last 3 weeks. That's not too bad.
No.
If you're desperate. And then also for the Raiders, otherwise to wrap them up. Yeah, I mean, Jacobs, you probably have to roll with, obviously. Waller, you're certainly rolling with. Aguilar, I don't know. The Dolphins they're good corners, Greg, but they do seem to give up some big plays here and there. Is that correct? They are giving up 14 yards a catch to wide receivers on the season.
Yeah. Trey Hendrickson is out. And so is Andres Pete and Malcolm Brown for the Saints.
Wow.
That's okay. Well, I mean, this should be a good offensive day in this game tonight. But do you think the Dolphins, do you look at them as you don't think giving up big plays when you think about their secondary?
No, and I don't think they're bad in the secondary.
Oh, so certainly not bad. No,
those are numbers and they mean something. But I wouldn't. I guess what I'm saying is I wouldn't look at the Dolphins and say, hey, you can just throw the ball over the yard against the Dolphins. They're just going to give up big plays.
Yeah, I mean, sure, that's fair. Because Aguilar is going to be on Howard or Jones, most of the day. So that right there is not great. Moving on, Giants, Ravens, and Adam. It looks like Daniel Jones. I don't trust it though.
Much better chance to play this week. They got to make sure he gets through everything leading up to the game, including today, and then the walkthrough. But I would say it's looking much better than it did last week.
Yeah, Slayton has been a little bit more involved lately, Adam. I just don't trust it.
I don't either. I don't either. And plus, Jones, who the heck knows? He's got 2 injuries now. Who the heck knows how long he'll last? I do believe what I said earlier with him and Jones. They need an offseason together.
Yeah.
Their timing's been off, and we know Jones is now battling 2 injuries. So I wouldn't feel good about it.
I talked with Jordan Renan. I think you were with us on the show right before the season, and he said he was a little uneven, Daniel, in camp. Like new system.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, the head coach really gave him a great endorsement. Like, Greg, the Giants are all in on Jones. Like, he's their guy, and I think that's the right position to take.
Mm-hmm.
What?
If you're the Giants, you're not considering a quarterback in the draft. Let's say a viable one falls to you at like 9 overall, wherever the hell they are. A lot of Giant fans are looking at a quarterback, but Judge has pretty much said, look, that's our guy, Daniel Jones. I think that's the right position.
Oh, I do too. I mean, again, you can get caught up in that whole quarterback thing because first of all, we haven't evaluated the quarterbacks. Teams obviously have. They have scouts who do this, but you got to be careful about that. It's just always easy to say, let's go get a quarterback. There's not a ton of quarterbacks who just become great players every year in the draft.
And that was Dave Gettleman's guy, John. So
Yeah.
as long as Gettleman's the GM, he's not going anywhere.
Yeah, Jones is going to be the quarterback.
It's not a consideration.
Yeah.
Zero chance.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it here. I mean, these are all desperation plays like Slayton, Shepard. Ingram's also banged up. I'm not loving Ingram. Not a great matchup overall. Then Wayne Gallman too, real quick, Adam. Is Devontae Freeman maybe in the mix? I think the Wayne Gallman thing is over.
I don't know what Freeman could do or not do. At this point, he's been out for so long. He looked bad before he got
Why do you think the Gallman thing is over?
Well, he was a little touchdown dependent. He's getting vultured lately on top of the goal by Alfred Morris, and they don't throw him the ball.
Right.
So,
well, okay. So you're talking, fantasy numbers.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just not feeling it. He's a guy that I was ranking when he was getting it done. Usually running back like 17, solid. Now he's down 31,
Yeah, man. Wow. He didn't even have a target last week. Huh.
That's the thing that drives me nuts because now all of a sudden he's relying on touchdowns. And then you have Alfred Morris. They're using Alfred Morris on top of the goal at times. So, I mean, he's not worthless, but I wouldn't be overly optimistic.
And terrible matchup. I wouldn't play one Giant. I wouldn't use any of them.
And then now for the Ravens, here's one, Greg, big one. What's your trust level in Hollywood Brown? He's been getting it done lately, but it's been a little fluky. I don't feel great about Lamar throwing the ball.
By the way, he was added to the injury report. We'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
Yesterday. So.
And then in theory, he could see some Bradbury, right, Adam? So Bradbury's back.
Yeah, Bradbury's back. Correct. Yeah, Greg's been telling us with the Giants secondary, you never kind of know how
they don't always match up.
Right.
And with any receiver for the Ravens, John, and I know this isn't a good answer for people listening who want to make a pick, but with any receiver, it's a week-to-week fluke thing. There's no way to know because, they're not a passing team. So you just don't know what's going to happen any given week. So, you could say, oh, I like Brown this week because they're playing the Giants, and Brown could have 2 targets.
Yeah, sure.
No, I would say it's still going to go whenever they throw it. They don't throw it a lot. It's generally going to be Brown or Andrews. There's not,
it is.
Except for Boykin everyone, like he scored.
And then a few weeks ago, they have a great design play to Boykin for a touchdown.
Right.
So, you just don't know because they're not really a passing team.
Right. But when they're looking for the big plays, it's more often than not Brown or Andrews down the seam,
sure.
and Brown has been getting it done. But again, not the best matchup overall. Even
and
for
also,
Lamar,
like for instance, that Brown touchdown a few weeks ago against Cleveland in the Monday night game, that was a broken play. It wasn't
totally broken.
Right.
Totally.
It wasn't as if let's go to Brown.
Oh no.
I mean, it's great for fantasy if you have Brown, but we're just talking about how we want to try to map this out and be predictive in advance, and there's no way to know that.
100%. No, I loved his player prop over X number of yards that night. And I'm like, I guess I screwed that one up. And then, oh, wait, no, got it by luck.
Right.
Because that play was very fluky.
I mean, their pass game doesn't really have a whole lot of rhythm to it. You just don't know.
Yeah. And then real quick, I think everyone needs to start Lamar because he's running a lot.
Yeah.
But when he throws, this is not an easy matchup, Greg.
No. And they've expanded their run game a lot. They're adding principles and concepts to their run game because they know that's what they are. For them to win, the run game has to be the driving force.
I only have Lamar attempting 25 passes for 195 yards, 1.5 touchdowns. I'm giving him that, but 10 carries for.
And by the way, it could be a game where the Giants don't score a lot.
Exactly.
It could be a run game.
This is a low octane game, man.
It could be a game where Lamar ends up being, 12 for 21 for 140 yards, and he rushes for 90 yards and a touchdown.
I see it being 18-6.
No, I agree.
18-6 is your final for this game.
Yeah, I mean,
I've got him close to that, Greg. 17 for 25 is not far off from what you just said.
And 17 for 22. Then we can move on. I think Edwards has looked really good the last number of weeks. All of a sudden, like he's something happened with his legs, and he looks shiftier.
Exactly.
He looks quicker. I mean, he just looks different.
Well, I mean, again, these guys get the ball, and it helps. And he gets the ball every week, not a ton, but he gets it. And then Dobbins, how does Dobbins look? He looks more than fine.
Yeah, you just don't. Again, now you also don't know how the carries are going to be mapped out.
Yeah, well, Adam, we know Ingram is getting like ceremonial starts only, if that.
Yeah, well, Dobbins now is the majority carry guy.
Yeah.
The thing that surprised me is that he's getting goal line carries. I was not expecting that because he's smaller. But to me,
Dobbins, Dobbins is not small though.
But he's not not George Edwards. Gus Edwards to me is more physical.
Oh, no question, and he's bigger.
Yeah.
But Dobbins is not small.
He's just short. Yeah.
Right.
Hey, what's Edwards? Do you know what Edwards' contract situation is, Adam?
Yeah, he was on a undrafted deal for 3 years, so it should be up after the season. He'll be restricted.
Yeah,
he fits what they do.
He does. No, he's been a great find for them. This is just a preview of next year, John. Dobbins is going to be the guy. I mean, that's why they spent a second round pick on him.
Well, I mentioned Edwards' name all summer about Dobbins when people taking Dobbins real early. I'm like, Gus Edwards. And, it kind of played out, but everyone was right. Eventually with Dobbins taking over, it only took 10 weeks. I was thinking maybe 6, 7, which was a lot, but it did take about 10. But anyway, Bengals, Texans. Boy, you can't use any Bengal receiver, Adam, for fantasy.
Forget it.
You just can't do it.
Forget it.
Like,
no, it's actually it's almost a fluke if they do anything because their quarterback play is so bad.
Yeah. I don't know about. I guess we got to trust Giovanni Bernard after he did what he did last week.
Yeah, it's encouraging. I mean, he had completely bleeped the bed after Mixon got hurt, but that was his first game, and you wouldn't think it would be that good against Pittsburgh, but it was.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's the Texans. Giovanni Bernard's got a small margin for error, but if you're going to use him in week 16, it better be a great matchup. And this has been the best matchup all year.
Yeah, for sure. By the numbers, it is.
Yep. But again, T. Higgins, I mean, I loved his prop over 3.5 catches on Monday night. First half, he catches 3 pretty easily. I'm like, oh, this is done. Didn't catch another ball. I mean, and then
now who's gonna start a quarterback for Cincinnati?
Well, Allen's working more this week, so I
think it could be Allen.
Okay, that's a great point because I lost track of that. If it is Allen, that does help.
Yeah.
Well, he's better than Ryan Finley, boy. Whew.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll see. If it is Allen, it might be actually T. Higgins might be almost a must start because I mean it's amazing, Greg. T. Higgins is like the one. Imagine what we'd be talking about if Burrow didn't get hurt. I mean, we could be talking about Burrow to T. Higgins being like the most prolific ever. Yeah. Rookie combination.
Oh yeah. And by the way, you don't need me to tell you that. Obviously, next year. Well, I guess it all depends on Burrow, but that's going to be a really good duo for quite a while.
I know because AJ Green Adam's not going to be here.
No, I can't imagine they bring him back after.
Now, what's Tyler Boyd's deal with the concussion?
He hasn't been cleared yet, so that's where it's at.
Can't consider him.
No.
For the Texans, I did actually like David Johnson last week. Didn't think he'd catch 11 balls, but looks like Duke is out again, Adam.
Yeah, he's missed 5 straight practices, so it looks like he won't play.
Well, I think we use David Johnson with pretty good confidence here. Bengals secondary is actually pretty decent. They've been bad against the run. So, I like David Johnson. Brandon Cooks certainly every week gets targets. Greg Kiki Kuti in the slot against Mackenzie Alexander this week. He's been good, Alexander. So I don't know. I kind of like Chad.
I think their secondary has been pretty solid, to be honest.
I know. No, I know. Yeah. It's been Mackenzie Alexander's been the guy.
I mean, I think their safeties have played well, Von Bell and Jesse Bates. I think they're, William Jackson is a solid corner. They've struggled opposite him because of injury all throughout the season, but that's probably their only potentially weak link, but their secondary has been pretty solid.
Yeah, they have one weak link in the cornerback spot, as you mentioned there. And
they're going to be an interesting defense going forward. And again, everybody just writes off the Bengals, because they're the Bengals, but they drafted the 2 rookie linebackers who have both played reasonably well in Logan Wilson and Akeem Davis-Gaither. They've got some younger players that if they develop, they have a chance to be pretty decent.
Real quick, the sleeper tight end, I know is a pain in the ass, Adam, but Jordan Akins does get targeted every week.
Well, this past week, you saw the routes that they were using him on. He could run. I mean, that's, he's a vertical guy, and that's the way they use him. They started using him a little bit like I said they would. It only took them 4 weeks to figure it out. But look, I'll give them credit. They came back in that game last week. It surprised me how well they moved the ball. After a slow start in the first quarter, they did get it going in the second quarter. So
the Bengals have been a good matchup all year for tight ends. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'll throw it out there. Akins, if you need 10 PPR points, certainly has a chance to get to that.
What were your thoughts on the 11 checkdowns to David Johnson? That was a stunner.
That was bizarre. No, it was completely bizarre.
He had more
Because-
catches than carries. Like,
Yeah.
you know, how do you predict that?
because even when Duke Johnson was the guy there, you would think Duke Johnson's probably a better receiver than David overall. And he didn't get
Not like
kind
that.
of love.
Yeah,
No,
no,
hell
no.
no. That was a complete aberration.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's getting 15 touches in this one. I do like him. I do like David Johnson quite a bit in this one. Like I said, I liked him last week, believe it or not. Bears, Jaguars, obviously David Montgomery. I mean,
I watched both sides of the ball with the Bears this week for the first time, not in a long time, but in a couple of weeks. And Montgomery, he looks pretty good. He's starting to get it. Running backs. One of the things they have to learn, and we've spoken about this with Jonathan Taylor as well, is there's a very delicate combination and delicate balance between being patient and decisive. And, they're very used to it in college where the run games are a little different, but in the NFL, you've got to learn that. And I think Montgomery is starting to get that. I think he's been running really well the last number of weeks.
I mean, you know me with the body language. His body language the last 3 weeks is great. Like he's feeling it and he's confident. And a lot of that is Trubisky under center, which helps.
It is. You were right, John, because they actually mentioned that. They mentioned to me two things, the reason why Montgomery's doing well. The move to Trubisky because he can move.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Foles cannot move. He has no mobility at all. It hurts their offensive line. But the big thing, when speaking of their offensive line, is this: Sam Mustipher is playing 67 the center, and 64 Bars the right guard, who's a tackle in college, maybe.
And by the way, it's funny you say that because I thought their O-line this past week against the Vikings did a really strong job in the outside zone run game. Montgomery had a lot of room on a lot of carries at the first level to read defensive flow and then be decisive.
There you go. And Kmet is blocking really well in the run game. One of the reasons why he took over the starting job is because he does everything well. He doesn't make mental errors. So they love Kmet. They've got like a love affair with this kid. They think he's going to be a top 10 tight end.
Nice.
And then they did, as Adam knows, they did some really good things with play action boot, misdirection elements, route concepts to attack and break down the Vikings, who play predominantly zone. But they did, with Trubisky, you have to do all those things. That's what he is.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
That's exactly what he is.
He's been pretty good.
And the other thing that they did, Nagy took over the play calling like 2 or 3 weeks ago, took it back.
You got to move this guy, get Trubisky on the move in any way, shape, or form. And they're starting to do it.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what Trubisky is. So you have to try to play to what he is. And one of the keys to that is being able to run the ball. Because if you can't run the ball with Trubisky as your quarterback, you're going to get stuck putting him in situations that he can't function effectively in.
Yeah. Now, I was never a huge Trubisky guy like I was a Tannehill guy, but you watch Trubisky in like 2 years will play for some other team and he'll have like this huge year out of nowhere. And that's assuming the Bears don't bring him back, but we'll see. He did throw an egregious pick last week. He seems to make like one mistake a game.
He made a bad read.
But overall, he's playing well and the good balance. Everything points to Montgomery getting 150 yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns, which probably means he'll only get like 100 with a touch, and Trubisky will probably do.
They'll be fine, but on the other side, the biggest joke is you see what the Jaguars are doing at quarterback.
Well, it's Minshew, Glennon. What are they doing?
Well, they're having a tryout. They had a tryout this week. Yeah. Competition. They had a competition. Can you imagine?
Well, the issue, just to get back to Montgomery, is the likelihood is, John, is he's going to get 25 plus carries. That's the likelihood.
Yeah, it should be a volume game for him. I agree.
No doubt about it. I know that. It just seems so obvious that it'll be a Montgomery game.
John, it sucks for DJ Chark owners on the other side because, he's had a bad season. I'm not denying that, but the quarterback play has been so bad. Minshew was horrendous last week. Really bad.
Yeah. No, you can't use these guys, man. I mean, Chenault involved, Cole, Conley. Colin Johnson did get hurt last week, but it's a treacherous situation, especially with the quarterback stuff. And also, I mean, where are you with James Robinson? He's looks hurt. Like
they're optimistic he's going to be able to play. They purposely limited his practice time this week.
Okay, yeah, because that's a disaster behind him if he's out between Ozigbo and Agumbawale. I mean, they're like the same guy, basically. Don't have a lot of confidence in either.
Well, I'd be very curious to see if Ozigbo plays
Yeah.
and gets snaps. I mean,
Mhm.
Right.
gets carries.
Yep.
If Robinson doesn't go,
Right.
obviously that won't happen if Robinson goes.
Yeah, Adam, that's the point. If Robinson is out, I kind of lean toward a Zigbo being
Oh.
like the lead runner.
Oh, sure. Agumba Wiley is an H-back. Yeah, he's not.
Yeah, but he's been playing over a Zigbo. But
I
yeah.
know, but what is the point?
Yeah.
It's like, you know
Right.
how big they are running the football?
Right.
It's
Do you
gotta be
want
a
to evaluate a Zigbo or
Exactly.
not?
Yeah, got to be a Zigbo.
Got to be a Zigbo. Got to be. Browns, Jets, Greg. I mean, price check here on Baker Mayfield. I mean, prices are rising. I mean, this guy's value is climbing every week as he continues to string together good performances on film.
I would agree. I think that he's throwing the ball really, really well. He's confident. You can see it the way he's throwing it. They do a really nice job with him, but he's also making some tight window throws against zone coverage that are very impressive.
Well, and certainly a beatable matchup here. I mean, the Jets are not bad against the run, but they're pretty bad against the pass. At least in theory, they are. They play a lot of zone, fair amount of zone, a little bit more than most. They're still starting these undrafted guys here. The other Lamar Jackson, for example. So, I mean, got to feel good about Baker here, and all of a sudden, Jarvis Landry, or Larvis, as I almost called him. He looks like he's completely healthy now and getting volume. And also Higgins has been, he's entrenched here. Like Higgins is entrenched in this passing game. Greg, is that fair?
He's had these stretches throughout his career there. And right now, due to injury, he's kind of the guy.
Yeah. Because they were playing that Hodge guy a little bit over him.
Darryl Hodge. Well, Hodge, John, won the number 3 job to start the season. Then he got hurt.
Right. Yeah, he got hurt about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Well, now it's Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, he can run. Yeah.
Oh, I do like as a prospect here. Obviously, we know the running game is going to be very prevalent and all that. Now for the Jets, Sam Darnold, Greg, was that, for what it's worth, the best performance of the year for Sam Darnold?
It was solid. I mean, again, Darnold's another one of those guys. He's a splash thrower. He's capable of excellent throws with touch, velocity, ball location. Those traits don't show up consistently. He's an arm thrower without transferring his weight. Because of where he is, there'll still be a lot of people, and they're not necessarily wrong, who believe that in a different situation, he could become a star. I guess we'll find that out at some point. But he does have ball location issues, so we'll see. But it was a solid performance, and obviously the fact that the other team didn't score, certainly helped.
We have Denzel Ward back, Adam.
Yep.
Brown D is okay. It's certainly not a shutdown D. They've been weak in the slot all year. So Crowder, maybe. Not sure about Mims. I don't think we use Perriman. He hasn't reached 30 yards in 3 straight.
Jeez.
So, and then they actually are pretty good against the run. So I'm not sure about Gore for those considering Gore. That'd be dangerous.
I can't imagine. Oh yeah, and one of the corners this Javelin Guidry kid has got a knee injury that they used. He was one of the 3 corners they used last week.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the Jets right now in terms of the matchup.
Oh right.
Yeah, I mean I don't know how they did it. I mean their defense hung in there, and then obviously the Rams had a furious comeback, but and then the Lange guy, Harvey Lange, one of the inside linebackers, got hurt. He's done.
Let's go to
and he's been playing literally every snap.
Yep, that's a big one for them.
Yeah.
Let's go to Atlanta and KC, and I still don't trust Matt Ryan. I couldn't believe what I was seeing last week because, no Julio. Matt Ryan's been awful. Greg, do the Chiefs have the type of defense that can place him under siege?
Yeah.
Okay. See, that's my concern. Talk about that matchup then, because he has been under siege quite a bit.
The defining features of the Chiefs defense are that they blitz and they play man, and they're very aggressive, and Spags will not hold back. They've played more snaps of zero coverage than any team in the league, and he feels very comfortable with that. So they're an aggressive defense. They do not back off.
And it works because they're giving up the second fewest fantasy points per game, for example, to wide receivers.
Yep.
So that scares the crap out of me.
Because even if they do give up a play here and there, their offense usually puts up 30, so it works.
Yeah, I mean, Calvin Ridley against man, I'll take my chances there because he was brilliant last week.
He's had a great year. Calvin Ridley's had
What
a
a
really
great-
good year.
what a great
You know, it's
year.
funny. Remember when I watched him this summer, John, and I sent you my notes and told you just what an incredibly smooth and fluid route runner he is. Now, he hadn't had 1,000 yards prior to this season, but it kind of showed up this year. Every week you seemingly see him with some really beautiful
A
routes.
couple things on him. He's off the injury report for the first time in 6 weeks. You need that midfoot sprain. That's good. Yeah, Julio's out once again. They've got some injuries in the secondary. They've got some injuries, so they're going to be playing from behind. The one note on the Chiefs' injuries, I'm not Tyreek Hill won't play. I don't know that he'll play his normal amount of snaps because he does.
Who's that?
Oh, wow. Tyreek.
Tyreek's got a hamstring injury. I don't know that he'll play his normal amount of snaps. They got to be careful with him.
Ooh, that's big. That is absolutely big. I'm looking up real quick our cheat sheet from the preseason to see. I hope we had Calvin Ridley ranked higher than his average because we were all in on Ridley. Yeah. Oh yeah. His ADP was wide receiver 14, and I believe we had him at like 7.
I love that kind of talk.
Yeah. You love ADP. You love ADP discussions.
I don't even know what it
Average
means.
draft position.
So that
Average
means
draft
that
position.
that means on average Ridley was the 14th receiver taken, and we had him at like 7. That seems a little high, but I know we were very high on Ridley, and we got that right. But anyway, moving on. It was a good year for our recommendations for wide receivers. By the way, we loved Thielen. We loved Ridley. I love DK.
I hope I had something to do with that since I sent you a whole bunch of stuff this off season.
I hope people read those reports.
Yeah.
I hated DK, and then I saw you compare him to Julio Jones. Like, I changed my mind. I now love him. No, that did help. I've used that. I see it. Absolutely. Cause you were talking about, things expanding outward. And by the way, they did.
Yeah.
I saw a route chart this week of DK's routes in year 1 and year 2. It completely like night and day. It was like,
I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no doubt. All right, Adam, real quick, Le'Veon Bell, go.
Yeah, I mean he's the guy this week, and that's that. He does have a minor injury. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
You sure?
The only thing is, what's that?
Are we sure? I mean, I guess he is.
He's the guy. No,
okay.
He's the guy. It's just a matter of are they going to give him 20 carries, 10? Will they work the other guy? Will they work in Darwin Thompson? I can't answer. I don't know.
That's true. I have him with 16 touches, and I've got Williams with only 6.
I mean, theoretically, John, this should be a blowout. Obviously, have to play the game. We'll see what happens. But on paper, Bell should have plenty of work. Then they'll pull him out of the game and let Darwin Thompson come in and whoever else, the other back. They have another guy there.
Right. All right. Let's go to
Williams, number 31.
Darrell Williams. Yeah.
Darrell Williams. Let's go to Indy and Pittsburgh. And I mean, it's week 16, guys. I mean, we're done waiting for the Steelers running game to emerge at this point, Adam, aren't we?
I mean, I know people said, hey, at least they put up yardage lists. Like, okay, but they also got blown out. So I don't know how good you feel about it. Connor's back. Okay, great. Colts have a pretty good front. The Steelers offensive line isn't great either. So they're an offense that's regressed significantly. I as much as we like Randy Fichtner because he's fantasy friendly in terms of passing the ball, I do wonder what his future is going to be there because they've been frustrated. I know that with their offense.
Yeah,
and the coordinator usually gets the brunt of that. We'll see what happens next year.
Greg, do you have any explanation for how this offense has devolved into where we're at? No running game is part of it.
Well, let's map this out logically, okay? Based on things that I've told you guys over the years. Put the run game aside for the moment. We know that they don't run the ball very well. Their O-line has not moved people. So why do you think their pass game is the way it is? Because no one wants their pass game to be like this. So why do you think it's like that? No, it's a serious question, by the way.
Yeah, no, I would say 2 things. They maybe don't feel great about Big Ben moving around in the pocket. They want the ball out, and they don't have great vertical threats.
But they do have vertical threats.
Yeah, that's true. Claypool can get vertical.
Washington is somewhat of a vertical threat.
Even Ebron's a vertical tight end.
Yeah, so the vertical threats thing is false.
Okay, so then it's Big Ben. They don't trust Big Ben.
what have I told you for years? The way teams play tells you what they think of their players.
That's true.
And the tape tells you that. This will be viewed by people who are watching as a bold, controversial statement, but it's not. I sit here, you can't see my screen right now, but that's what I do. I sit here and I watch this stuff, and Big Ben can't drive the football the way he used to. They know that. That's why their offense looks like what it does.
Question.
And he doesn't move particularly well anymore. So they don't want him to be in the pocket for longer periods of time where the pass rush gets closer.
You'd said to start the season, I remember it was the Giants game, you thought he looked pretty good coming off the elbows.
He did look pretty good. And in that game, actually, the Giants played a lot of man, which they have not played throughout much of the season. I thought he did really well early. Maybe his arm, Adam, what's he, 38, 39?
Yeah, that's why I asked you, because I distinctly remember asking you that. And you said, no, his arm looked really good. It looked live coming off the surgery.
But it has not looked that way for the last 8 or 9 weeks or so.
Yeah, and that kills their ability to get the ball downfield. Boys, and Ben's been getting it out super quick.
Super quick. I mean, he doesn't get sacked because that's because he gets it out. Yeah,
it's crazy when the guy throws the ball 35 to 40 times per game and his average per pass attempts under 6.
And John, they do, just so you know, they do. I mean, Claypool can run. He ran a 4.38 at the combine. Washington came out of Oklahoma State as a vertical player. Okay, they have vertical threats.
They just don't have the burner, but they do have vertical threats. I mean, they don't have like
not everyone has one, but I get it. Yeah,
Eagles do have vertical threats.
I mean, even like a freaking high.
You're responding to the way they played, to the results, and now you're saying they don't have vertical threats.
It's funny though. Deontay Johnson it's funny. Deontay Johnson who's had a great year. He can
run too a little bit, by the way.
He can run. I had a coach tell me that he always thought that the kid could run in the right offense.
Yeah,
and it's a shame. It's a shame to see this happen, but
I'm it's not a big point. It would be a little bit more glaring if they had a guy like I don't know, Darnell Mooney or something, like a lid lifter kind of guy.
Yeah, right, sure. But I don't know. But here's the problem, John. I don't know that Ben can make the throws anymore.
Yeah, that's the issue, John. That's the issue.
I don't know.
And if you're Big Ben, you're Big Ben, you want to complete passes. You don't want to get hit. So why wouldn't you throw every damn ball almost to Deontay Johnson, Greg? Because he's always open. I mean, the guy gets open, and
he's their possession receiver.
And he can run. See, he's another guy, John, who can run. I mean, so it's not a function of lacking speed.
Yeah. Well, that is overall for sure. The bigger problem is Big Ben. There's no doubt.
Yep.
And then Juju.
Well, they're telling you that. That's my point. This isn't me telling you, although the tape tells you, but this is them telling you.
I mean, Juju is averaging 4.2 yards a target. 4.
Yeah.
0.2.
So come on.
Yeah, so I don't really like him in this game.
And by the way, he's not slow either.
No, Juju can
run.
Yeah. Juju this week, probably see some Kenny Moore.
Kenny Moore's their slot corner. Yeah.
He's pretty good.
Yep.
So
he's very good. He's a top 5 slot corner in the league. I'm telling you.
There you go. Yeah, I didn't like Juju last week at all against Alexander. He didn't do shit or crap. Whoops, almost cursed there, or maybe I did. Doesn't matter. Who cares?
It's the internet.
No one cares.
Yeah.
We should do a profanity version of this. Week 17, all profanity version.
Fantasy points after dark.
Exactly.
We let the expletives fly here at fantasypoints.com. Eric Ebron is banged up though, Adam.
He's playing. He's barring something unforeseen, he'll play.
All right. Colts have given up some production here.
Revenge game.
It is a revenge game. That is technically true. And then
they were not happy with him after last season, to say the least. He had surgery without their knowledge. That did not make him happy. Ebron. He didn't tell him that he was having surgery. He just did it, and then he told him.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, he's a different cat, that Eric Ebron.
Yeah, he's a different guy.
Let's go to Broncos Chargers. You saw Herbert, Greg. I mean, very impressive performance, I'm sure, on film last week.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's really a good player. I don't know what else to say. The guy's a really good player.
I mean, with just a little price check, he's in a good place right now after last week. He had a little bit of a rough patch there, but still playing pretty darn well.
Let me ask Adam a question, unrelated, as we go forward.
Yeah.
You think Anthony Lynn's in trouble?
I would say yes.
The reason I'm asking is because you get into that whole situation that happened in Tampa a number of years ago with the Shane Steichen, who, obviously everybody's going to say has done a great job with Justin Herbert. So if you fire Lynn and a new coach comes in, and then starting over because you can't. Can you say to a new coach, well, you got to keep the offensive coordinator? I mean,
Right.
say it,
Well,
but I mean,
the question then is if it's an offensive minded, it's guy from the offensive side. Is he going to would he call plays or would he keep Steichen to call the plays? Yeah, look, their problem has been, if you just go back the last 2 years, they've blown so many games. They're so conservative with their play calling. I know this sounds crazy when you're talking about Herbert, but I'm talking from a pass run ratio. It'll look like because they're throwing the ball over 40 times per game, but someone pointed, if you look at analytics, they throw the ball when they're behind like crazy, but they're not as aggressive. Like someone pointed out the Saints game to me where they had a big lead and they gave the ball back to Breeze with 2 minutes left and he scored and they came back to win.
Right. So I'm just saying, but I mean, overall, putting aside particular play calls, and I know they're important. I'm not saying they're not important, but I mean, if you just look at the development of Herbert as a rookie, someone's responsible for that. You know, obviously Herbert's a great kid,
for sure.
You know, and we know he works hard. He's a good kid and does all the right things.
Yeah.
But obviously coaching is important. So someone or some 2 or 3 are really responsible for that.
Yeah, he's very well liked by the organization. It's just going to be tough to bring him back after what's happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and Adam, with the matchup, Denver's still down. Bryce Callahan, AJ Bouye, Bassie, the dude who was playing.
They're out for the season. They're all out. Yeah, they're all done.
So, I mean, looking good here. We saw Josh Allen pretty much do whatever the hell he wanted last week against this defense. They play hard, but you can execute against them. What about Keenan Allen? It'll be 10 days from last Thursday to Sunday.
Yeah, well, it would have been better, John, had he not played last week.
Yeah.
That really would have helped him, but unfortunately.
Well, he's a professional football player.
Yeah. Did you know, Adam, that he told people on social media before that game last week to start him for fantasy, though? That was a little, I don't know about that one.
That's unbelievable that he said that. Wow.
Yeah, like why would you do that, man? I mean, unless you felt like you're 100%, which.
So they got Ojemudia and Bosby as the outside corners, and they got Parks as the slot corner.
They're down 5 corners, John. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Will Parks is the slot corner.
Yeah.
Wow, is he playing slot corner? Interesting. Okay.
Last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. Now the only downside is that oh, by the way, Hunter Henry on the COVID list.
Yeah, it sucks.
So that does stink.
So he's out this week?
Yep, he's out.
When did that happen today?
Yesterday.
Happened yesterday.
Oh, I didn't see that. I missed it.
It'll be Donald Parham Jr.
6 feet 8 inches tall.
Is he that tall? Wow.
Yeah.
By the way, Greg, they also have a guy that you liked out of Cal, Steven Anderson.
Steven Anderson. I did like him. Yes. And
the guy used to be with the Texans, right?
Yes, because he was almost kind of a wide receiver.
Yeah.
In terms of his skill set. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah, I may have to actually rank him because I went Parham Jr. Over him. But on the other side of things, well, I mean, Drew Lock. I mean, do we just bail Adam from Drew Lock in terms of fantasy?
Oh yeah.
At this point,
not for the tight end, not for the
tight end.
87's getting the football. You saw 100%. How badly the Chargers covered the Raiders tight end Waller.
Yeah, 100%. But I mean, Jared Jeudy, like try again next year. Jared Jeudy. I mean, we can't do it.
Yeah.
And even Tim Patrick too. I will say Melvin put up friggin' 25 points for you against me last week. He's looking okay. Could certainly use him. And Lindsey's still on the injury report, right? I mean, Lindsey he tries his best, but his touch total, he's got to be averaging like 3 yards a carry lately for what it's worth, which is very little.
He's got 2 injuries. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Let's see what the hell he's at here. Melvin's hung in there though. I thought for a while there, like,
it looked bad for a while. Yeah,
it did. That was a big decision, Gordon or Connor in the 3rd round. I was team Gordon on that one. That's a win because Connor is just nothing. Yeah. Lindsey's averaging 2.4 yards a carry on 11 carries. They still give him the ball. He's not effective.
2.7 not for the season.
No, last 4 weeks, he's getting 11 carries a game for 27 yards.
Yeah. It's pretty bad though.
It's not good. That's not good. Moving on, Panthers and the football team. I don't have a great feel for Teddy B, Greg, and this matchup against the football team. I'm always worried about that front stifling things to the point where you can't.
Yeah, I think this is a tough matchup. But the thing is they'll be able to stay pretty balanced because it's not likely Washington's going to put up 40.
Yeah. And DJ
Warren's out this week.
Who
What's
is?
that?
Terry McLaurin.
Yeah. Well, he's down. Yeah. John, it's the same high ankle, which he was playing on for.
Oh, he got downgraded today?
I saw it today as I
He's
was
doubtful.
working.
He's doubtful to play.
Oh, I saw it maybe 2 hours ago before we started that he's been downgraded to out.
Oh, all right. Well, let me update
what
the
they sent me.
projections.
He's not going to play anyway. It's the same ankle. He didn't practice this week. You know how that goes. When the guys don't practice, they rarely play.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a little screwed up here with the holidays and stuff. Well, let me update that thing right now here because
You guys can check it, but I saw it downgraded to out.
Here's what Washington sent me. They haven't updated it. He's doubtful.
All right. Well, doubtful is enough for me to zero a
Yeah.
guy
And
out,
Gibson, I would say 60-40 he plays, but I have no idea how he'll perform with a turf toe. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, we talked to Dr. Mark Addix on Thursday, and he seemed a little worried about like an aggravation and all that. Adam.
Yeah.
So yeah, be careful with Antonio Gibson. That is a really.
I believe Alex Smith's going to play. They haven't said that, but I believe he's going to play.
Really, because it seemed like it's still signing.
He took a lot of work today, so.
Oh, well then that's like a game time situation there. And then well, Logan Thomas. I guess regardless of the quarterback, you got to use that guy.
They'll go to him. Yep.
They will absolutely go to him. All right. Philly, Dallas, Jalen Hurts, Greg. I'm very impressed. We all are. Good poise, doing some good things, throwing the ball outside the numbers last week, which was very encouraging.
Yeah, he's doing well. I mean, a lot of those throws, as Adam and I have spoken, they're spot throws, but he's throwing it with really good timing. No, he's been impressive.
It's funny, and Greg, you talk about spot throws. The word from quarterback coaches I spoke with, they didn't see what you just said.
Well, he didn't do that in college.
Right, and that's why he dropped to the third rounder.
Neither did Dak Prescott. That's why I've been doing that comp.
And Dak was a fourth-round pick, John. That's why.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, it's funny, Adam, after we did the thing yesterday.
Yeah.
People watched it, and of course they hear what they want to hear.
I
so
know.
A lot of people were like, "Well, it's 2 starts." Well, I said that. I said the sample size is small, but here's what it shows.
Right.
That's all we have to go on. I'm not sitting here saying to anyone that, "Oh man, this guy's going to be a great, great player."
Yeah.
And people form their opinion.
It's encouraging.
Be a great player. Who knows? But the sample size is small. But right now, this is what it shows. Now, he did miss one, and it might have cost him the game. He missed one, and we'll get into detail on this, Adam, on Sunday. We'll go into more detail. I don't want to leave it on the table right now. I'll leave it in the locker room for now.
Well, the one that bothered me because you had addressed it on our show on Thursday. The one to Rager was so beautiful because Rager ran right by Peterson.
Right.
Oh my God! And I was like, wow, because. So Greg, give John's people an idea of what Rager looks like on tape.
I think last week he looked really dynamically explosive. I think he's starting to look like the player that I think we all saw coming out of college. Mm-hmm. And again, maybe it's not a function of numbers yet, John, but he's really starting to look explosive.
He looks like he's a little bit of a ticking time bomb, potentially poised to have a blow up game before this year's in the books.
This could be it. This could be with the amount of production they've given up. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
And again, it all depends on the way the Eagles choose to play. I mean, last week he obviously had 44 pass attempts. That's not the game plan,
right,
but they also could feel like, hey, he's been poised, he's been composed. Not that we want to drop back 44 times, but hey, maybe we want to drop back 35 times. That ultimately they're a passing team. For this year, we've talked about, you got to give it to Miles Sanders.
Yeah,
but at his core, Doug Peterson is not that guy.
I thought he handled the volume because you and I said, Greg, last week, this is the game. Let's see how it because you and I seem to agree on our pregame show last week that this is going to be a high volume pass game. Let's see how he handles it. Boy, did he handle it well.
He handled it extremely well.
Yeah. Little rough start, but the mental toughness to come back from that grounding call, that was pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, Greg really had that question. What if the game got a little out of hand early on? And I got the answer to the question this week. My takeaway, by the way, with some of these guys who have really surprised us with their improvements at the NFL, like Justin Herbert, even Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. College coaches stink. That's my takeaway. Because these
No,
guys,
it's not that. It's not
I
really
know.
that, John.
Yeah.
It's the college game is a different game.
Yeah.
And there's so many easier throws in the college game when you get right
Exactly.
down to it, just because the hash marks, the way defenses play, it's a different game. Now, it's the concepts are very often similar, and that's why a lot of young quarterbacks can come into the league and perform well, because a lot of the concepts now are very similar between college and the NFL, but the execution of those concepts are different because the hash marks are a huge issue. The hash marks are so much wider in college football.
Yeah. I mean, it does still beg the question, like, how did Justin Herbert walk onto an NFL field and play much more consistently than he did in college? I mean, I know there are a million factors involved in
Now we don't know them all because we're not there.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, maybe going forward, we're not laser focused on some deficiencies the players showed in college because it could be cleaned up in the NFL. I don't know. I
And
mean,
some
it's tough.
can and some can't.
Some can, some can't. So it's tough.
Yeah,
But,
so they get back. So in this matchup for Philly's injuries, they get back Slay this week. That'll be big for them. I'm watching this Fletcher Cox injury because he's had this lingering neck injury. He hasn't worked this week. I don't think they practiced today for the holiday. Do
you have any idea, Adam, who's going to start opposite Slay?
Was it Jaquette last week?
Well, Jaquette played because Slay was out.
Right. Boy, he did it. I know the numbers don't show, but
I thought he was very competitive.
Yeah, exactly. They thought.
It would not surprise me if he's the guy who started simply because of the size too.
Exactly.
Of the Cowboys receivers.
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Or Roby Coleman. Does he play outside?
No, Roby Coleman has 5'7".
He has played on the outside, which is crazy.
I don't think he will this week, though.
I would hope not, because that's a bad matchup for them. Not having Josh Sweat could be a little bit of an issue for them. He's played well.
Yep.
DN. And then we got to find out about Greg. How's Van Der Esch play this season? It doesn't sound like he's playing.
Not good.
I don't think he's played at a really high level, to be honest with you.
Wow. Okay.
So,
okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, Greg, are we expecting both offenses to have success here with these matchups? I am.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I think it's a high-scoring game, John.
Yeah, I think Sanders goes off, though. I know they don't make a commitment to him, but man, he just seems like like a scary combination because the gap discipline, Greg, for the Cowboys has not been good. And you make a mistake on a guy like Sanders, he could take it to the house.
It all depends on how much they give him the football.
Yeah.
I mean, unless we get 17 carries.
I know. Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean,
yeah, which is good.
Yeah. I kind of like him here for sure.
He didn't play in the first matchup. He was hurt.
Yeah. How about Andy Dalton in this passing game real quick against Philly? I mean, they are still
Andy's
depleted.
kind of a cautious, risk-free thrower. He doesn't really push it unless the play design is there. And I think that's why the passing game has not been, certainly not what it was under Dak, in terms of yardage and big plays for wide receivers.
I think it might be a Lamb game, Adam. I mean, again, why the hell did they bring in Darius Slay to match up against guys like Amari Cooper?
Right, and then obviously Roby Coleman covers Lamb in the slot, correct?
I guess that would be the matchup, Greg.
Yeah.
What do you think of it?
I think the Lamb lies down on Broadway, John.
I think. Will the silence of the Lamb continue or
you know
not?
that album?
Lamb lies down, Broadway. Oh, Genesis, Peter Gabriel.
Genesis, yeah.
There you go. There you go.
Good
100%.
song.
My 14-year-old son is like a music savant, and he listens to music and he memorizes things, and he knows more about bands than I do. I mean, he's 14. So he was like, yeah, you like Genesis? I'm like, oh yeah, I love Abacab and all that. He goes, no, I'm talking about the old Peter Gabriel stuff. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Whoa, you're way over my head here, buddy. But anyway, how about Zeke, Adam? Confidence level and Zeke?
I mean, I'd say better than 50-50 if you want to say that he plays, but confidence level for how he'll do. I don't like him in this game. He's just not the same player. He used to be the Eagle killer, as you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
I just wonder if they keep giving Pollard some run here and maybe have less of an inclination to feed Zeke if he is active. And,
don't know.
Split it up a little bit.
Couldn't even begin to
That's
tell you.
Real tough situation here. What else? Goddard, real quick. Adam,
He's the guy. I mean, he's real integral to their run game. They feel that's why he plays so many snaps. He's just a good football player. The thing about, people have asked me this question. I don't know if you could say that Hurts favors any one particular target. I mean, he's leading them in targets. Yeah. But I don't know if you could say that it's going to be Goddard every week. but he's certainly going to be involved. That's for sure.
I mean, Dallas has traditionally been weak against the tight end, not as much this year and lately, but he does have a pretty good history in the matchup there. That's good. That's a good point. Is there anyone that you look at, Greg, and when you watch Hurts that, oh wow, he kind of likes throwing to this guy? I would say Rager myself. He seems to throw to Rager a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if we know that yet, John.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a schemed offense. They're not really a
Yeah,
let's throw it to
true.
this guy offense. So
True.
Yeah.
True.
So, all right. So here's the Eagles injury report. Rager will play with his ankle. He's fine. Testing was fine. Darius Slay will play. He's cleared. Fletcher Cox is questionable. Kevon Seymour will not play with his knee injury. Josh Sweat, as we said, with the wrist will not play.
Rams Seahawks, and I kind of feel like this is going to be a lower scoring slugfest. I could be totally wrong. It could be the opposite, but where things are going with the Seahawks, Greg, it sure seems like Pete Carroll is getting back to his roots, running the ball. Now you got Rashad Penny in the mix. Rams are a tough matchup. The Jalen Ramsey matchup is scary, obviously. Greg, it just seems like if you're Pete Carroll, you're just going to bring it back to the old leather helmet days here and run the ball.
Maybe. Don't forget that Ramsey did not match up to that. A lot was made of that matchup, but he only matched up to him when Metcalf was on the outside, and it wasn't as many snaps as people think. So I don't know. Again, we'll see. They will throw the ball to Metcalf in this game because they did not in the last game. I think his first target was in the third quarter. That won't happen this week. They're well aware of that. I think the other side of the ball is really interesting. I think the Rams coming off a really bad loss. I think they're going to go no huddle tempo. I think they're going to be real aggressive, and I think they're going to attack that secondary. And I think they're going to make Jamal Adams have to cover and not be a factor in the as a blitzer.
Well, that'll be ballsy to start Jared Goff. I totally hear you, Greg, but he's not getting it done lately here. Low YPA, not a lot down the field, 3.3 touchdown percentage. And
they know that too, and they're going to be. And I think McVay is going to do some really good stuff.
Well, he does have the weapons here with Bobby Trees and Cooper Kupp. I always kind of like him in this matchup, by the way. Seattle has been bad against the slot receiver. They actually have been a little sketchy against the tight end. Of course, we don't know. I mean, it's good news for Goff to have Higbee and Everett at his disposal, but we dealing with those two are real pain. And then Adam, no Cam Akers probably would make them a little more inclined maybe to try and throw it as well.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Darrell Henderson stepping back into the role here. I guess he would be the lead runner because Malcolm Brown's been MIA.
Yeah, Henderson would definitely be the guy. There's nothing to indicate that Brown would be. So, yeah, right. I would expect Henderson to be the guy there. And other than that, the Rams are pretty healthy here. Seattle, as I look at their list here, they're pretty. They might get back Trey Flowers this week from injury. Other than that, they're okay.
Yeah, and Carson, I guess you got to suck it up and use him. He is getting basically 18 opportunities a game since he returned, even with Penny and Hyde in the mix there. I kind of do like Tyler Lockett. I know it's pretty obvious, but if DK is on Ramsey quite a bit, maybe Lockett, it gets a little bit more love. There was a game earlier in the year where they kind of both went off, and I kind of like Lockett in the same exact environment, and Lockett did do well in that game. So let's not bail on Lockett. Our guy Graham Barfield gave me a heads up. We did have him a little lower in the ranking, so I bumped him up earlier in the week here. Final two games here: Tennessee, Green Bay. I kind of like this game for fantasy. I think Aaron Rodgers, Greg, is going to crush it in this one.
Oh yeah.
They've used Malcolm Butler as a matchup corner. If they try that this week against Devontae Adams, good luck.
Yeah, we'll see if they do that. One thing about Butler, he's an interesting guy. I mean, he obviously people don't talk about him a lot, and their pass defense has been bad this year. But he played against DeAndre Hopkins for a couple of years and had some good battles with him. He would get physical, so we'll see. But they can't rush the quarterback at all.
Yeah, Rodgers going to kill him. I think he's going to do whatever he wants here. What about Jamal Williams, Adam? Because he's iffy, and that could be big news for Aaron Jones.
Yeah. I haven't got the report yet because we're doing this before they're done practice. I think.
Right.
Yes.
Could be working at a massive workload once again, Aaron Jones. So
Yep.
probably peaking at the right time for those who took him. Season high 90% of the snaps last week. I loved him last week, and he.
Oh yeah, and without Williams coming in on third down, that would be big because they're not. It's not like they're gonna put AJ Dillon on third down.
Yeah, AJ Dillon may play though. It'd be interesting.
Oh yeah, right. But I'm talking about a third down. That ain't happening.
Sure. You know what's not happening? Me saying anything good about Marquez Valdez-Scantling. That ain't happening.
You can never back guys like these shot play guys, John. If that's all they do,
no,
you can never back them.
Nope.
Plus the snow, I think, in Green Bay too.
Yeah.
Not like a major storm, but I think it might be. Well, meteorologist Adam Caplan.
I'll check it out.
29 degrees, 35% chance of snow or rain, winds 5 to 10 miles an hour.
Yeah, so it won't be windy. Yeah.
Whitney Merciless got put on the COVID list for the Texans. All right, I just got the Packer injury report. I'll tell you what it says.
I do like Bobby T again this week. Even though the Titans they're up and down against the tight end. They really are this year.
It's a big game for Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you think of Tannehill this week? I think the Green Bay secondary is greatly improving. Certainly they've been vulnerable.
I think the major issue for Green Bay, John, is how Penn decides to play personnel-wise. Because what do we know about Tennessee? They're going to line up with tight ends. And
7 of them.
And Pettin does not like to play in his base defense.
Jamal Williams doubtful, John.
So we'll see.
All right.
That's good news for Aaron Jones.
Yeah, there you
go. So they're going to be in their base because of how the Titans play.
We'll see.
Which should open up opportunities. Play action.
Tannehill has more passing yards off play action than any quarterback in the NFL this year.
I mean, he's just a guy without it. Let's be honest. But he has accounted for multiple touchdowns in 5 straight. He does get it done. Do you think they put Jair Alexander and match him on AJ Brown in this one?
No.
Okay, so they just play size more so?
My opinion, I think Alexander will be on the left side. Davis over the last month has been a little more of a big play threat.
Yeah, that is true. Kevin King is a guy we don't really talk about a lot. I mean, he's got length. How good of a corner do you think Kevin King is?
Very solid NFL corner. Yeah. They normally play Alexander on the left and King on the right.
Yeah, that I do know.
Yeah,
that I do know. And that if they play it that way, I'm trying to think. It seems like AJ Brown is on the left more than the right.
He might be.
Which would be King.
That depends on where the ball is placed because Brown is their X, their boundary X.
Yeah.
And Davis is their Z.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think it's probably a challenging matchup overall, though. I mean, it does feel like the Green Bay secondary is improving, Greg. I don't know if you picked up on
it's solid. Yeah.
King, and John King missed a lot of time. That's probably part of it that he's been back.
Yeah.
And
then last but not least, the Bills and the Patriots. And Greg, do we just kind of throw out the window Josh Allen's sketchy history in this matchup? We talked about it earlier in the week where he didn't do well earlier in the season, but that was just he threw it like 19 damn times or something.
He threw it 18 times. The only game this year he's thrown under 20.
Yeah. So no Stephon Gilmore. I don't have Josh Allen at like 2 this week. He's down a little bit, like 6 at quarterback, but obviously, we expect.
Who's playing quarterback for New England?
He's keeping it a secret. I can't imagine it wouldn't be Stidham. Why would you not play him this week? Cam is so bad. Why don't you, since they're out of the playoffs, why would they not evaluate Stidham for next season? It's a perfect opportunity to.
I mean, I got Cam, 25. It probably should be a little lower, honestly, here.
Does anybody go after Cam Newton in the offseason?
After this season? Good luck.
Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
Boy, it seems like 2 years ago since he played that crazy game in Seattle, he put up huge numbers. What week was that, 2 or 3?
I mean, is Cam Newton, and I'm not making a judgment here, I'm asking a question. Is Cam Newton essentially out of the league soon?
No, someone will sign him.
Yeah.
I don't want to defend him, but I just know from talking to quarterbacks who've played for Josh McDaniels, it's hard to learn that offense in 1 month.
Yeah.
It's funny. That was my original takeaway. I got to learn in this analysis business to go with my first instinct more often than not, because every time I go away from it, my first instinct ended up being right. When he first signed, I was like, you know what? Don't like it. I don't see him being comfortable in this offense right away, all that crap. And that's kind of played out, with no off season.
They were really looking for a mobile quarterback. There were a couple guys that they were looking at, and they settled on Cam, and it just clearly didn't work
out. Not that
out.
I loved Cam, not that I loved him this summer, but I did kind of say, hey, QB2, I'll take him all day long, which is fine. It didn't crush you if you took him as your QB2. But yeah, my initial reaction was like, I kind of like the Bill running game in this one, just because are we really going to have to throw it if we're up? And the Patriots, Greg, what is going on there with their run D? It's not good right now.
It was bad this week. Boy, they didn't handle double teams at all very well. The interior D lineman got moved. I mean, the Dolphins basically ran the ball. Last week was not a Tua game. It was a run game. With
Savon Ahmed, of all people. So they're giving up 5.2 yards a carry the last 4 weeks. So this could be maybe a Zach Moss thing, with 12, 14 carries late in the game. They're looking better than usual, these guys, and they're tough to deal with for sure. Mm-hmm. What about John Brown, Adam?
I believe he's going to be available this week. That was the last I'd heard 2 days ago, that they felt pretty confident. We'll know more tomorrow because they still have one more day of practice, but he was doing well at last check.
I don't know about your boy Cole Beasley this week for
he's
what
been
it's worth.
He's coached by Chad Hall.
He's been so good, Cole Beaslly.
Yeah, he's a really good player.
I mean, he's like one of the deadliest slot receivers in the league this year.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, he it's funny though when you watch him.
A nice rapport.
He is, and when you see him, John, get up, sometimes it looks like he's not going to come back because there's like a ball. He's like a little pinball. He gets knocked around a lot, and he gets up slowly, but he seems to come back.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I was surprised that he did as well as he did last year.
That's my guy, though. That's my guy.
That was a good sign for Allen last year. I think Allen's progress was indicative in even last year, like, because I didn't think he would get the ball to Beasley, in the short to intermediate area, and he did.
He sure does check it right, because he's a big arm thrower. Right, yep. That's a fair point. But the key to the whole thing is Diggs, because they told me that the two, they worked together for a week. I don't know where the hell they were in March before the shutdown.
Yeah,
and they started to develop a relationship. And the one thing they did is they spent, I don't know how many hours they spent on downfield passing with him and Diggs. And it clearly worked.
Well, you gotta get it up. Diggs is it stud.
And the coaching has been phenomenal.
Well, Allen threw the best deep ball of his career last week to Diggs. He couldn't have handed it to him any better.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I know. Yeah. Just
good
absurd,
stuff, man.
Every once in a while, you see why these guys get paid so much money. There's like 9 dudes on the planet who can throw the ball like that. Maybe 9. There it is. That's week 16 in a nutshell. Here, we'll wrap it up. We'll let Greg get home so he can watch the game, and I'll be doing the same. I'm already home. I'll just go downstairs. So, Greg, great stuff as always. Adam, you too, and good luck to everybody out there in the ship. It's the most important weekend here ever in fantasy football. So we'll be back week 17.
We will.
Okay. We will. What the hell? Yeah. DFS, player propage. My player props, Adam, are like 69% the last.
No, 4. You're the man. I gotta do those. Okay.
We got to get involved. By the way, player prop today, Kirky Cousins over 8.5 yards rushing. Lock it in. He's going to get this early. He's actually running a little bit more. I know it's a weird one, but I'll take a win. A win is a win, and that will be a win in about 3 hours. It'll be in the books. You'll win. So I love that one there. I actually like the prop for Thielen and Jefferson as well. Thielen's like 57 yards and Jefferson's like 64. I think both guys go over, but that'll wrap it up here. Enjoy the game today. We'll see you next week here at fantasypoints.com.